Hey guys, how's it going today? It's Mr. Zarea here from Landrum Middle School. Today we're going to take a look at this last machine, which is the lathe. L-A-T-H-E. Okay? If you ever wondered how they make cylindrical object things that are made out of pieces of wood or even metal and sometimes plastic, you'd find out that those things are made on some type of lathe. This happens to be a wood lathe, so we're going to use this specifically for wood because it's a wood shop. Before we do anything though, I just want to remind you guys that always make sure that you're using your brain. Make sure you think things through. Okay? Now, before we actually see how this machine works, we need to go over a couple of the parts, so we're all speaking the same language when we're talking about this machine. Okay? So, let's go over those parts. Alright? Let's start from over here. This end right here, this is called the tail stock. T-A-I-L, stock, S-T-O-C-K. This is the tail stock. This flat surface, although you might want to call it a table, it is not called a table, it is called a bed. Just like a bed that you sleep in. So this flat surface that runs the whole distance of this machine, this is called a bed. This part right here that's in the center, this is called the tool rest. Tool rest. And then over here we have the head stock. Head stock, tail stock. Okay? And located on the head stock we have a power switch. Okay? And below the power switch we actually have what we can use as the power switch also, but it's also the speed adjustment. Okay? So that speed will adjust how fast this piece of wood spins. And then of course everything that's touching the ground here is considered the base. So this is the base of the machine, the bed, tail stock, tool rest, head stock, power switch, speed adjustment. Okay? Now, just so you're aware, oh, I forgot one other thing. This is our dust shield. Okay? Just so you're aware, this machine is one of those machines that not everybody is going to get a chance to use. We only have one of them, and when you come over here to make something, typically it takes you more than one class period, sometimes more than two class periods to get something done. And if you make a mistake, you got to start all over. Okay? So this is a machine that I want to get you guys tested on, but not everybody's going to get the opportunity to use it like the other machines where everybody will be able to use it. Okay? So, first thing that we've got to do when we want to use this machine is we've got to take care of our personal safety items. So, those personal safety items are, make sure that you're wearing safety glasses. Make sure that you've tucked in your shirt. Make sure that you're not wearing any sweaters, jackets, or long sleeve shirts. We want to see from your elbows to the tips of your fingers. Make sure that you're not wearing any jewelry such as necklaces, bracelets, watches, rings, dangling earrings, lanyards, anything that can get hung up in the machine. And then the last thing is make sure you always tie your hair back if you've got longer hair. We want it out of our face, and we definitely don't want to get it hung up in a machine. Now, when you come to use this machine, you need to have a plan as to what it is that you're going to do. Now, I happen to have this piece of wood here that I'm just only using for demonstration only. Okay, there is no plan for me, but typically your plan is going to be, hey, Mr. Zarea, I want to make a baseball bat, or hey, Mr. Zarea, I want to make a set of drumsticks, or any other cylindrical type item that you might want to make. Okay, so you got to have a plan. Once you have a plan, you come get me. You're not going to come to this machine. You're going to come talk to me because I'm going to set the machine up for you. It's just much better, much easier, and much safer if I set it up and then you just use the machine. So there's no setup for you. Okay? But once we have that established, when we get here and everything's locked into the headstock and the tailstock, the very next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this tool rest and we want to adjust the height. So we can adjust the height by turning that handle. Okay? And the height of the tool rest needs to be just slightly below the center line of the piece of wood. So I'm going to say that looks pretty good right there. So once I have the height adjusted, then I'm going to take this handle, which loosens the tool rest, allows me to slide it left to right, and also forward and backward. I'm going to take that, and I want it to be as close to the piece of wood as possible without actually touching the piece of wood. So I'm going to lock that in place. And then I'm going to spin this piece of wood just to double check to make sure that it does not hit that tool rest. Now, the reason why we want it close is so that way the gouges or the tools, the sharp knives that we use to scrape off wood, doesn't get caught in between that gap and gets pulled in. And also, more importantly, our fingers can't fit through there, so we're not going to have our fingers smashed to bits because it got pulled into that gap between the wood and the tool rest. So as you use this, you're going to be moving the tool rest closer and closer until you get it exactly where you want it. So I've got that set up. Mr. Zarea already set up the piece of wood in the headstock and tailstock. So the next thing is we got to find the right tool. The tools are typically over here on this table, and this is the tool that we're always going to start off with. This is called a roughing gouge. Roughing gouge. Okay? And what this is going to do is let us take out a fair amount of material at a slow speed, but we're going to be able to do it much faster than using other tools. Okay? So this is the tool that we're going to use. Think of this as the carving knife for this piece of wood. Alright? Now, the way that we use this roughing gouge is pretty simple. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to hold it at the very bottom of the wooden handle with my right hand. And with my left hand, I'm going to place the gouge, the back of the gouge, on my pointer finger, and I'm going to rest my thumb on top of the gouge inside this little concave area. Now, this pointer finger is going to rest on this little divot in the tool rest. Okay, so gouge is on top of the tool rest, finger is on top of the tool rest, and I'm going to hold that right there, and I'm going to take my right hand, hold it at the base of that, and I'm going to take the base of this, and because of my height, I'm going to hold this right up against my belt line or my waist. This keeps this from jumping back and forth as it spins. So that's how I'm going to hold it, and because this is a curved surface, I'm not going to focus on the center, I'm going to focus on these lower edges of the curve, and I'm going to draw this to the left and draw this to the right to start shaving off some wood. I'm not going to run this at a high speed, so you're not going to see a lot of wood flying off, but you will get the idea. So I think everything's ready. So the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to press start. Notice nothing happened. But then I'm going to take this speed adjustment and I'm going to push it down. And it's going to pop. Once it pops, you can see that that piece of wood is spinning. And this goes from 340 RPM all the way to like 3,000 RPM. But if we are roughing something, meaning we have it as kind of a squared off piece of wood, we always start slow. It's not until you get a cylinder that we can turn the speed up. And definitely because of the length and the slenderness of this piece of wood, we're probably not going to go higher than like 1,200 RPM. That's revolutions per minute. Okay, so I'm ready to actually start doing a small amount of roughing on this. So I'm going to take my left hand, pointer finger on the tool rest, gouge on the tool rest, right thumb onto the tool, and then I'm going to slowly bring this in until it makes contact with the wood. And you can probably see in this video that there's some little shavings of wood that are flying off as I'm working. So I can work my way back and forth, and I'm going to keep working my way back and forth until I get the shape that I'm looking for. Specifically, I'm going to work back and forth until this is a cylinder. How do I know? Pretty simple. I just push down on the speed adjustment and I check my progress. Right now my progress is very, very minimal. I haven't done much work at all. This is not a cylinder. But, of course, this is a demonstration. So you would just keep going back and forth, gouging out some material, testing it, taking a look at it, see what you've done. Keep going back and forth until you get the general shape. From there, then we can start laying out some lines, some contour lines, so we know exactly how we want to shape this out. We would switch from a roughing gouge to possibly some other gouges or knives over here. Okay. Now, let's say that I'm finished. That's great. Next step is I'm going to take my roughing gouge and I'm going to place it with the rest of the tools. That way I don't drop it on the floor. And this machine makes a total mess everywhere. So what you would have to do is simply clean that up. So we can start simply by blowing away the sawdust that's on the bed. Then we may need to get the air compressor hose to blow off some of this other sawdust, and of course we would sweep all this stuff away into the dust collection system. So, pretty fun machine, pretty simple to use as long as you understand and you keep your fingers out of the gaps where they're going to basically bite down on your finger. Really fun. This is one of the funnest machines that I get to use. Occasionally you might see me use it in the shop. Believe it or not, I forgot to do something. And I don't know if you know what it is, but I realized my mistake because I don't normally do this. But when you use this, and I don't do this because it's hard to see through this, when you use this machine, you should bring down the dust shield. This dust shield is kind of it's pretty old and it's kind of hard to see through, but the purpose of this is so if something breaks off from this piece of wood, it's going to fly forward towards your face, but the dust shield will block it. Okay? I'm going to leave that kind of up to you because I understand it's very hard for us to see through this dust shield. There's some paint splatters and things like that on it. Alright? So, I'm going to leave that up to you. Now, remember, anytime you are doing anything, whether it's in the wood shop or in life, make sure that you're using your brain. Make sure that you think things through, and always, always, always try to do the right thing. Okay? Take it easy, guys.